Year was good. This is Jay Haynes, the top slug, Sofa King. Back with another video. This one, I guess, is another video just kind of getting prepared, getting set up for, just getting a better presentation, a better sense of direction, and obviously getting more comfortable sitting here and talking in front of the camera, getting more comfortable with the way I have things set up right now with the equipment that I have, and just trying to make it work. You see I got the light now. I made another video just kind of going over the obvious difference between having a light, not having a light, if that helped anybody at all, if I even posted it, matter of fact. Or maybe I'll try to edit this and throw a little bit in, or maybe I'll just edit this part out. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, it's just another day, another step, a step of progress, hopefully in the right direction, hopefully in a direction that's gonna kind of take me somewhere and help things grow the way I want them to. Feel better about it, just having, a good source of light, being able to be inside, not being in the car with the basic starter pack, using the sun as my light. I actually have something now that I can try to do some different things and, switch it up a little bit as far as the way I even kind of put the content together. And, obviously I'll keep doing it the raw and uncut way, but, we're going to try to keep slowly making progress, right, towards something that can actually look nice and represent things the way, we want them to be represented, right? So that's that, I guess, for the most part. Still not working with a script, still not using any bullet points, just so you can kind of see the difference, I guess, when I do start doing that, how much of an improvement, hopefully, that it makes in just giving me the ability to flow through certain topics and certain conversations without feeling without feeling like I have to say and stop and pause so much and kind of go on the fly. But at the same time, I kind of like being able to just go and then get settled into things and just kind of show, true personality. I mean, the personalities you see behind a lot of the content you probably watched today, and hopefully this is just another kind of realistic look and another thing that'll help people kind of do their own thing. So with that being said, what do we want to get into today? Because, as I try to fill these videos in and figure out what, I'm doing with things, I want to actually try to put some content together so I can label these a certain way, keyword tag them a certain way, and maybe try to get some momentum as far as actually getting subscribers and kind of putting some things together that could actually be noticed. So in another video I said I wasn't going to get into this, but I happened to be on YouTube a lot today, and I actually watched a lot of content, and I actually watched a few different live streams where they talked about this particular topic. And, I felt like I could just weigh in maybe from a different angle that I haven't heard so far, or, I haven't watched but so much. But it's the current YouTube fiasco, we'll say, with a certain podcast that I actually watched before and I actually kind of enjoyed at times. But there's a gentleman, his name is Myron Gaines. I'm sure if you are watching this video and you're scouring YouTube, you probably already heard of this situation in some form or fashion. But there's been an ongoing kind of drama between one page, another page, a lot of talk about a conversation that's heavy within, I guess, the manosphere or the red pill community right now, at least because of what's current and the fact that it's a hot topic between YouTubers. But that topic is the fact that people pay for pussy. I mean, simple as that. Like, I don't know why it's a surprise or why it's something that people act shocked about, but obviously it's a thing. You know, I've known people who've sold pussy. I've known people who've purchased. I've known people who have uh, been the actual talent. I mean, it's not something that like I condone morally, but obviously I understand we live in the real world. We live in a capitalistic society. We live in a dog eat dog world. So people have to do what they have to do to an extent, and if they're given certain options, right? Just like we spoke on a little bit with the OnlyFans, they're gonna take advantage, right? And it's not a shock. It's not a surprise. But obviously, being that that is the oldest profession, as they say, things probably things evolved, right? I guess you could say things have evolved to where now that's something that even the highest end of guys take part in. And I would say, at least for myself, maybe that's where I can understand it the most, because I'm sure, as you've probably heard people make the argument, you know, time is money, right? So with time being money, if I'm a high value, high earning, rich, successful man, I don't really have the most time to wine and dine and gain that natural affection and attention from maybe certain women that I may be interested in. And if that's the case, and those women also maybe have a price, you can understand why somebody may make that decision to just kind of go with the easy route, right? And even if it's not something that I would do personally, it'd be stupid of me to act like it doesn't exist or there's not an actual accepted place for it at this point in society, because we see it everywhere. I mean, it's in the music, maybe not directly the way we're talking about it now with like escorts and high end prostitution, but like, buy me a Birkin. I mean, what does that sound like? It sounds like, if you do something for me, I'll do something for you. And whenever that's revolving around a sexual activity or the opportunity at sexual contact, then I mean, that's literally, you know, prostitution, right? Like, so it's not even hard to kind of come to the conclusion that it happens. Now, whether you think it's right or wrong, or you know, you think it's acceptable in certain situations, that's all going to be based on your personal moral compass, right? And everybody gets to define that for themselves. And so if you are coming from a moral standpoint, and it's a pretty cut and dry situation, it's either right to you or it's wrong, or it's wrong but it's understandable, or whatever it is, right? So every individual has to kind of make that determination for themselves. Now, that part of things, like I said, I don't really have much comment on. I feel the way I feel about it, and other people feel the way they feel. I'm the type of person where I can accept somebody else's beliefs and decisions, because at the end of the day, you know, I'm confident enough in mine that it's not going to affect it, right? So what use does it matter for me to try to get you to, you know, believe what I believe, or to try to diminish your beliefs? Because if you have a valid point or a valid reason or a valid argument, I mean, who am I to judge, or what, you know, what can I really say? So with that being said, I mean, that's understandable, right? And so like that part of it, like I said, everybody can make a decision for themselves. But the part that kind of, you know, I probably care to speak on more, and I feel like I can give maybe some different insight to, is the way it was gone about, right? And so I don't know if people will have seen some of the documents and screenshots and information that's out there regarding the topic, but I guess the big thing is that the gentleman, uh, Myron Gaines, Fit from the Fresh and Fit podcast, he actually was against paying paying to play, right? So he was against paying to play, and then, you know, in a roundabout way, they got into an argument with the other podcast, I guess, or they made a reaction video where they disagreed with the fact that he didn't he didn't believe in it. especially being a high value man, or them all being high value men. I guess one set of guys felt like it was a real thing. It's understandable. There is a kind of logic behind it. The other one said like, well, if you do that, you can't be this or that, right? Which, I mean, just like I said, everybody has their own decisions to make. So you can't really even judge things on that type of frame. So whatever have you, dude gets exposed, right? He gets exposed. Number one, having a web page on a escort service, essentially, or a website where you arrange transactional relationships. So I mean, that's kind of tricking, right? So he also, and I guess more embarrassingly, I would say, he got caught up with a young lady who is also a YouTuber, I believe. Her name was I don't have it right in front of me, but it was a fitness channel, essentially a young lady who did fitness, and I guess he was trying to get her on the show, or they had been in negotiations to bring her on the show, and essentially, long story short, what he did is that he told her, basically, if you want to be on the show, hey, you gotta fuck me, right? Like, you gotta let me do what I want to do, which I don't understand. How, as a man, right? Like, how could you ever kind of present yourself to be like a high value man with game and all these different things going for yourself, and use that type of angle with the woman, right? Like that's what it kind of boils down to for me. Like, that's just a kind of like a very stupid and like immature rookie approach, right? Like that's just kind of nasty at the end of the day, and it's not even from just like the moral aspect of it, which I mean everybody should kind of understand why that's not good morally. So I'm sure they would skip over that part of the conversation, right? So the real thing that I would want to get into, and the thing that I think is hard for even fans to kind of get around, I think we would all I think we would all say the guy is a businessman, right? So they have a successful podcast. They have hundreds of thousands of followers. They have a good, I guess, a good stream of income coming in from a lot of different places. I think I even saw they did coaching for like $1,000 an hour with guys on teaching them how to pick up women and different things, which is crazy. But uh, you know, they were successful, right? So if nothing else, I think even people who like them, dislike them, in the middle on the fence, you can respect the business aspect of what they had going on. And I guess that's the approach that I immediately took, and that's kind of the approach when I see a lot of these YouTubers, is that regardless of what they're saying, right? Like I can appreciate some part of their story and journey and experience, to where I'm looking at it, you know, how can I kind of like learn from this for my own, right? And so that's just kind of how I approach everything. And so with that being said, I did actually subscribe to their channel, and I had watched their content. I got into the content when they had Kevin Samuels on there, actually. And from then on, you know, I just kind of paid attention to it casually, and I saw them kind of get a little bit bigger and bigger from at least where I got onto them at. And to be honest, they wouldn't initially like come off as guys who have a bunch of game to me, right? But like, this is 2021. People are getting money in a lot of different ways. Money is usually the ultimate equalizer. So maybe, right? Like maybe, and not to mention they got something going where at least the results kind of prove, maybe, you know, it gives some credence to what they're saying. So with that being said, like, you would think that if you have game, or you present yourself as an alpha male, and I would hope that anybody who kind of sees themselves maybe in that type of way, at least from what I understand the definition of that to be, this is like nasty, right? Like, this is beneath. This is beneath me, right? Like, I don't need to leverage my success and not my success, because obviously everybody does that part of it, but I don't need to directly proposition you with some type of financial or personal gain to get your attention, right? Like outside of the game, which is being around and with me, or you know, whatever it may be, it's not gonna be something that, like, if nothing else, right? Like if nothing else, let's say you think it's okay to exchange favors for favors, okay? So a sexual favor isn't really a business thing. So I wouldn't mix those two things, but let's just say you do. Just think about the value that would be on that appearance on the show. I think I saw somewhere, even he kind of said it's like worth $10,000. So you're an alpha male, you're a rich dude, you got all these things going for you, and like you gotta take that type of loss for you know that chick, right? Like, and that's not the shit on that chick, but that's the exact type of woman, at least from me seeing her. She's the type of woman you want to get off your own game. Like, if I didn't smash her off my own je ne sais quoi, right? Like, I'm not gonna feel no type of way about it. Like, if I gotta pay her, like, nah, you know. So especially if that's your stance publicly, and you in that space, and you're giving people advice, and you have this whole kind of image based around being this type of guy, to know that you are then, like, on the back end, behind the scenes, like using your fame, using your platform to, like, have sex with women, it's crazy to me, right? Like, you lose all credibility just from the standpoint of, like, not to make it drastic or dramatic, but if you really think about the psychology behind something like that, that's like a very weak move, right? It's a weak move. It's a desperate move. It's a thirsty move. The woman doesn't seem, at least from the outside looking in, to have any sort of quality where you should feel like you have to do that to even get her time or attention. You put your platform in jeopardy. It's bad for business that it came out. You from like a financial standpoint, whatever you value her, you know, whatever you value her company at, let's say, it's not $10,000, right? Like, so if you give her, like, for 3 hours on the show, you would say it's worth $10,000, but I'm gonna have sex with you for that 3 hours on the show. Like, that's simping right there. You know what I mean? That's some simp shit right there. That's devaluing yourself. That's not knowing your worth. All the cliche shit. So it's like, I don't really see what kind of angle you could approach it from and still kind of give a pass or be understanding. And that's not to, like, cancel the brother, right? Like, he's you know, a successful man. He obviously has something to contribute. Now, he wasn't practicing what he preached by far, or it doesn't sound like it, at least in this instance. But, you know, like, I can't respect it, right? Like, I can't respect that. Like, even if that was my man, right? Like, even if that was my homeboy, nigga, you getting clowned forever for that. Like, we're gonna tear you up for that. Like, you getting roasted, you know? And like, don't let the chick expose you to everybody. And it's like, damn, nigga, like, she had you like that, you know what I mean? And I don't even know if it was like that for the guy. It seems like much more something that would come from, like, a power trip. You got to the point, you got so big that you felt like you were above reproach. You could kind of just do what you want, which is a typical story. But, like, to know that this is the way that you use that, that's even dumb, right? Like, so even from the standpoint of somebody who's thinking like that, like, for me, right, like, I've always kind of felt when it came to women, like, confidence is the number one thing, right? So you can't be confident in yourself or what you bring to the table if you have to, like, proposition somebody for something that could be gotten for free, right? Especially on their terms or in a way that is beneficial to them. So even with the whole conversation of, like, men paying for sex and just you know, whether it's a thing that high value men do. um I mean, obviously it is, but I think that even those men, and the thing that makes it different is that there's a cost benefit analysis in there, right? So if my time is worth more than whatever time it would take for me to get this woman or something comparable, then it's in my best interest, at least from a purely business financial standpoint, to just pay, right? And it's like, I could learn how to fix the sink, but if I could just pay a dude to do it, it's much better for me to do that, and it's more worth my time, right? Now, if you live in a crappy house and your sink is gonna break every week, and you don't got the money, then you may just want to learn how to fix the problem. And so if the problem keeps coming up, at least you can do it on your own. You don't have to worry about it. Now, if you're rich enough to where like you can just pay, you're just gonna pay, right? And maybe that's not the best analogy, right? But the actual thought process behind it is the same, right? And I can understand it in that scenario versus somebody who's, you know, looking to experience things that are maybe outside of their depth or outside of, you know, their league, quote unquote, and they're paying for it. So now you get a false sense of accomplishment, you get a false sense of self-worth, I guess, just like we say with other people in other situations. Just because you can pay for it don't mean that's where you at, right? And that may be the issue that comes up, where now somebody who isn't really built like that, somebody who isn't really financially equipped to kind of play in the pond that they're trying to swim in, they'll end up drowning, right? Like, you start buying too much, you don't got it. But if you are somebody who has it, and I mean, it could be as simple as you wanting a certain woman, right? Like, it could be a certain woman that you just like, you want, you got the money, she's up for grabs. I mean, you know, it's happened, right? So I'm not in a position to actually like live that life or tell you about it, but it's not like it's far-fetched, I guess is what I would say. So like, with that being said, obviously the guy is a hypocrite because he said he couldn't understand that, or that wasn't a thing, and then to find out that you're doing that, and then not to knock the woman, right? Because she wasn't bad looking, she was kind of cute, I guess, but not to knock her, like, but you're doing it on such a low level when you said that even dudes on a higher level, it's corny if they do that, you know? So it's like, you're a hypocrite. You got weak game, right? So even, all right, so let's say it like this as well, okay? So just to cover all bases, let's say you are that dude, right? Let's say you are that dude where you use your platform, you use what you have to get what you want. You can't do it in a smoother way. You can't do it with more coof. You can't do it with more decorum, more swag, whatever it is. Like, you just gonna, yo, if you come on this show, we fucking, right? Like, that's how you come at it. And it'd be one thing if it was short and direct like that, but it was like, yo, I know a lot of my friends was with you, and it's like whiny, you know what I mean? So it's like whiny, it's entitled, it's all these different things that are very feminine, you know what I mean, quote unquote, and they're very like weak from a man's standpoint. And it's just like, how could you kind of how could you defend that, right? Like, how could you make that make sense? And I saw some people, even in the live stream that I was watching, they were saying how because he had already shown the text messages, that made a difference. Like, I don't even know how to even dignify that. Like, it don't matter whether it was shown before, during, or after. Like, if you show me that in the drafts, right, and you like, yo, I'm about to send this to Shorty, I'm gonna look at you like, what's wrong with you? Like, what type of shit is that? Like, you know, you can't do better than that, my nigga. Like, you know, so it's just a lot of like, a lot of ways that it's nasty, you know what I mean? And, you know, I wouldn't write the dude off, you know what I mean? I'm not into like canceling black men for shit that doesn't really hurt anybody, I guess we could say. But I would be very surprised if this is the last thing that comes out after this. These things unfortunately seem to have like a snowball effect, And like once you got one accusation, once you got one scandal, once you got one like girl, woman coming out the woodworks, there's gonna be every little situation that somebody can kind of like reach on that could now potentially be an issue for you. And like that's kind of the issue when you put yourself in these situations and you kind of move the way that he did with what he did. Like you showed a certain arrogance that now people are going to go back and look at situations with you. They're going to look at text messages and emails and all these different things and try to find something else that can kind of confirm that lack of character that was shown. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where it's like, from my standpoint, I just recently got put on to the gentleman. I don't know much about like, I don't know him personally, right? Like I don't know how he deals with women. I don't know about his past history, but at least if this is the only thing I've seen, nah, bruh, nah, that ain't it, man. Like it's you got to hit the bench, you know. So I don't know, what'll happen. I heard they're losing a lot of like subs and different things, and that brings back, I guess, ultimately my point, right? Like when it comes to business, and when it comes to these type of like public positions that somebody may have, you gotta be on your P's and Q's, man. Like you gotta be on point, and like that type of behavior that was shown in those text messages, added on to like some of the things that they were going through with the other podcast. I guess ultimately like it's hard to really say anything that'll kind of make sense to understand where the thought process was at, where the foresight was at, where the critical thinking, where the self-respect was at, because like you jeopardize a lot of things when you send that text message to that woman, right? And what are you doing it for? Some box, right? Like some decent, you know what I mean? Some decent. I could meet a chick on the street right now if I really got game and get something like comparable, you know? So like what did you really do it for? And then like the hypocrisy of being willing to jeopardize your livelihood to an extent, all right? Like being willing to affect your public standing in a public field as a public figure, and then you got a problem with tricking, you know what I mean? Like make it make sense, please. Like if you can make it make sense, please do, but I personally can't, right? And this is just my thoughts on it, right? And just unfortunately, like I said, I don't want to see any black man get canceled. As somebody who wants to kind of get into certain spaces myself, I know probably how much work it takes to get there and how much of an accomplishment it is. And I know it, I know how I imagine you got to feel pretty stupid right now, no matter what. You know what I mean? No matter what you feel, oh, these niggas just reaching, oh, it's canceled, all these different things. Like, if you really are the type of man you need to be, you're going to self-reflect. You're going to be introspective. And if you think about it right now, it's no way it was worth it, right? There was no benefit to it. It was totally avoidable. You brought it on yourself. And like, what can you really say? So, I mean, you got to take that L. You got to hold that L. It might be heavy. It might lose you some fans. It might lose you a bit of money. But I think the best thing now would be to be contrite and to kind of, just take responsibility, take accountability, do all the things that are talked about in the space. Give an example that people can support you on, and get your mind right, man. Because if you're doing that, like people said today, right? Like if you do that so casually and you do that so aggressively, I doubt, and I highly doubt that's the first time, and hopefully it's the last time. But like I doubt that, you're just gonna just turn around and be able to just convince people that you're not on that no more. You've learned your lesson, you've changed your ways, and all these different things. That at this point, with at least my observations on just social media and kind of how some of these things go, that's what people are going to be looking for. You know what I mean? That's what it's going to take to get you back in a decent standing with your fans and some of the people that are on the fence, because you always got the people that will support you, and obviously in this situation, people are willing to blindly support, and even the people who are fans who do have some criticisms, they seem like they could be won back over, maybe, but you really gotta take an honest look at yourself, I guess, when you're in those situations, and just do what's best. Do what's best for the group, do what's best for the business, do what's best for the future endeavors, do what's best for the business that you have right now in the works that's jammed up, because you're jammed up, and because I'm sure they had interviews and all type of different things where people are like, nah, right now it ain't a good look. Or maybe they have to be so on guard about what may come up and what may be said. Like, that would be very nasty to be a platform like that, and then you go in there and you got to tell people not to ask you questions, right? Like, that's kind of crazy. So who knows the ramifications from this one kind of decision or this mentality that he had, and we'll see. So good talk, right? Hopefully that maybe added something to the situation for somebody. Maybe that was just an angle that'll help you maybe process the thing that you're seeing as what you know it to be, which is wrong. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, just talking about the current events, testing out the new setup. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, right? Jay Haynes, Top Slug, we out.